Welcome to the Grassroots Tennis Podcast, a platform created to entertain, educate, and grow the game of tennis at all levels. My friends call me Ship, but this show isn't about me. We will be bringing you interviews with coaches, community leaders, and players, along with updates about tennis happening around the world. Tennis is a culture, and we are all writing tennis history together. Today, I am here with Ronnie Schneider. Ronnie is from Bloomington, Indiana, and he was the #1 ranked recruit in the nation several different times throughout his junior career. He's the 3-time Kalamazoo national champion, 1 time in singles and twice in doubles, 3-time Indiana state champion. In college, he was an All-American in North Carolina, 4-time first team All ACC, first in conference history, national indoor champion and MVP, NCAA team championship runner-up as a team. And at the pro level, Ronnie is a 2-time ITF singles winner, 6-time ITF doubles winner with a career high of 406 in singles and 300 in doubles. He also had the opportunity to be a U.S. Open participant. That is quite the resume. Ronnie, how's it going?
Kyle, I need you just walking in front of me down the street everywhere I go. I appreciate that. Going really well here. Thanks for having me on.
Well, one of our goals here at the Grassroots Tennis Pod is to ask questions that everyone would like to hear. So I'm just going to preface it with that, and we're going to have a good discussion today. And if anybody emails me with any follow-up questions, I may be hitting you up for some answers for the mailbag. But other than that, we kind of broke into your playing background already. But I want to know, what is the racket of choice for Ronnie Schneider?
Oh man, racket of choice forever and always will be the Prince Graphite from way back in the day. I think Agassi used to use it way back, and my coach Brian Smith had all of us using it in his group from about age 10 to age 18. So I got about 8 years with the Prince Graphite, and I got about 25 of them still hanging out in my basement. So it's kind of funny.
25 is quite the collection.
Quite the collection, yeah. I'm just waiting for another 25 years from now when they come back into style, and I'll be, the foremost expert in Prince Graphites. So yeah, that is forever the choice. I used Babolat in college, and I still, whenever I hit now, I use Babolat. It's just a little bit easier to generate power, but Prince Graphite's forever my baby.
Okay, when you play now, are your rackets weighted down at all?
Yes, I like the lead tape in them. I just use the ones that I have left over from college and when I was, playing ITF Futures Challengers. Yeah, I always use lead tape. I like the balance. I like the consistency. And again, now these days, I'm just looking for as minimal effort as I can do as possible to generate the most power. So that's helpful.
Do you know what weight you had him weighted down to?
Oh man, that's a great question. I don't know, to be honest. I'd be guessing if I did. We had a great guy. His name is Jay Lewandowski down at UNC that would do us state Duke, and he had the little machine that measured the weight, swing weight, balance, and all I know is if I ever got any rackets in, I'd go and take them into the little office area, and the next day there would be 4 brand new rackets exactly weighted the same, and then off I went.
Yeah. And then string of choice. Do you have a string of choice?
Yeah, Slinko. So shout out Slinko, Hyper G.
Slinko Hyper G.
I know. Yeah. I forget the other one. The Tour Bite was a little too dead for my liking, but the Hyper G was a lot like what I used in college, which was the RPM Blast. And be lying if I didn't say I like the color a little bit better with that neon green.
Yeah, it pops a little bit more. I think that's why so many people have it in the frame, other than the response that it gives.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little bit of both. It kind of was a little interesting at first. It was like nobody had ever seen it before, but now nobody thinks twice about it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, follow-up question here. Next one. Who was the first person to really kick your butt?
Mm,
That's a tough one for you because you've like never lost, I'm sure.
no, I lost. Oh my goodness, I lost plenty of times. Um, I would say the first time that I was ever probably humbled on the tennis court was there used to be this big Midwest tournament for 10 and unders. It was like a compass draw tournament. They really tried to get together the best 16 or 32 9 and 10-year-olds, and that's an impossible task. Who really knows who's best at that age? But there's a guy, his name was Drew Dawson. He beat me so badly in one of them, and I'll never forget it. Definitely a core memory for my 9-year-old self. He was a great player, great juniors. I think he ended up going to Notre Dame. I don't know how much he played towards the end. Uh, but yeah, that was a core memory out. Ben Davis High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. We'll never forget it.
I think everyone who plays tennis has a humbling moment at some point, for
Oh,
sure.
you definitely do, and it's like I'll remember those 0 and O's or 0 and 1s when I was 9, 10, and 11 way more than I'll ever remember, any of the wins back then. Because in those back in those days, if you lose bad, you lose bad, and it's like you can barely win points. Like they're hitting 25 winners. You're standing there looking at your parents about to cry. So, yeah, you remember those.
Yeah. So we're kind of talking about junior tennis right now. So good segue would be what do you feel like top level junior tennis players should be focused on?
Mm, interesting. I actually had this conversation over the weekend with somebody. They brought that up, and my thing, maybe more than people think, is focusing on their body, um, and just all around. Like what I mean by that is like flexibility, um, mobility, strength. Doing the right health habits. Whether that's eating right, eating at the correct times, making sure they're warming up properly, cooling down properly. I think taking care of the body is the biggest thing that's probably overlooked in juniors because people just get on the court. They get to the court and they just jump on there and start going. People are young, like you just go and you don't even think about it, and your body's going to most likely be fine. But it's really, if you're in it for the long haul and you're trying to, as perform as best as you can, late teens, early 20s, even beyond that. Uh, I can't say how, if you're to ask me was one thing that I would go back and change, it would be, you know, spend 20 minutes less on court a day, uh, hitting balls, and 20 minutes more, stretching and flexibility in that every single day. No doubt in my mind. If I was creating doing like PJ Tour create a player for tennis, in a video game, the person would be, whatever. But then if you could scroll it up to 100 on the flexibility meter, I think that's the first thing I would do because I think it pays so much dividends down the road.
Oh yeah, for sure. That totally makes sense. And in an alternate universe, you were cross training gymnastics as a junior, right? Is that what it is? In the
Right, exactly.
multiverse? Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you're cross training gymnastics. A perfect combo would be like gymnastics and soccer because the
Yep.
footwork with
I was thinking
soccer
the same thing.
and the
Yeah,
gymnastics flexibility, just like where they would like push down on you, like you're like you are going to be flexible. Like doing that from age
yeah,
like 4 to 10 would be the most beneficial thing ever.
yeah. Through all those growth spurt ages, that's what we need. Uh, what do you think? Uh, what do you think a good practice session looks like?
Quality versus quantity. That's probably the biggest thing. Can if you can get done in 45 minutes, what oftentimes would maybe take 2 hours, then do it. I think a lot of times we get caught up in group stuff and it just sort of drags on. If you can find a way to be efficient with your time, um, I think that's most important. I think this day and age, it's like hard to get people to focus for any sort of time. And a pushback to that might be tennis matches can go 2-3 hours, and there's certainly, times where those trainings need to be like that. But I think if you can be more efficient, the better. Obviously, you want to, when you're developing something, um, it's trying to find that balance between, you know, deep diving something and then also growing your overall game and getting necessary reps in that you can. To me, an ideal practice would be touching a little bit on everything, but having a singular focus going in to the practice and knowing that's what you're going to spend the majority of your time and thoughts and energy on. Whether
Mhm.
that's I want to work on I don't know, forehand angles, or forehand inside out, or I want to work on this cross court down the line pattern. I don't know, it could be anything in the world. It could be serves, who knows. uh that you touch a little bit on everything, but then the majority of your actual brain power is really spent on the one thing that you're working on. So I always thought that the best practices where you really got nerdy and deep dive into something and really focused on it, because you could leave there thinking you're like, okay, like I really improved something today, or just got better.
For sure. And I think anyone who's been reading up on their coaching books realizes that purposeful practice
Yeah,
leads to just whenever you're able to have that deep practice, they're gonna get so much more of those practice sessions. They're gonna learn at a much faster rate than those people who are just in there kind of mindlessly doing things. I think that's great advice, and maybe something that young junior players need to hear, or parents of those players, or even people who are looking to get into coaching. They need to realize being purposeful and how important that time is. So I think that's great
that
advice.
now you tell me, Kyle, what do you think from your talks and your experiences, if somebody has 60 minutes in a given session, let's call it, like what's the ideal time breakdown?
Uh, I would say if it was, it depends on the level, but I feel like for me, if I could do what I actually want to do, and because sometimes depending on who I'm coaching, there's a little bit of a gap between what I think is best for them and what people will actually pay to do, because
Yeah,
they
that's fair.
they show up and they're like, I don't just want to run, I don't just want to do cardio, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, I don't want to spend time stretching, I don't want to, the dynamic warm up cuts into their time hitting balls, and so that's all tough. But if you can get people to do, I feel like a dynamic warm up some type. In a lot of my group sessions, my preference is then to have some type of gameplay. I think
Mhm.
for young players, you know, doing something almost like tag or something that is allowing them to practice that change of direction and have those natural things. A lot of young people these days don't play multiple sports or don't play outside, so they're lacking that athletic positioning, or they're not super great at change of direction and athletic stance. So I would say some type of, it's like dynamic warm up, some type of catch slash gameplay of some kind, followed by, like you said, kind of going through a little bit of everything. I like to start with serves because I feel like everyone moves to serves at the end, and they're too important to just leave to the end, and they're not an afterthought. So I usually have people do serves first. I hate it when people are like, "Oh yeah, I was on court for 2 hours today. Did you hit any serves?" Yeah, before I left, and they served for like the last 5 minutes, and then
Yeah.
it's an afterthought, but it literally starts every point. So I always have people do serves first, because if your serve doesn't work, there's no reason for us to move on to anything else in the lesson because you're not gonna be able to start points. So
Yeah.
um,
Honestly, just don't play.
serving it and then moving into kind of whatever you're working on. I really think at some point it's you know we're gonna do kind of a soft warm up, move our way back to the baseline, practice airing out the ball, trying to make the ball hit that baseline. Um, I usually want to make sure that at some point that we're practicing some type of transition skills, because I'm a big believer that transition skills are what separate levels of players. Um, and then if they had something they really specifically wanted to work on, that's what we focus on. If they brought something, if not, I usually have something planned. And then I usually always try to end with some type of live ball hitting. I feel like if we haven't really gotten there yet,
That's really
depending on what they're
interesting.
doing.
That's really interesting what you're saying about the transition. And I've my new favorite player to watch, and this is not like shocking the world here. It's Alcaraz. But his movement, everybody sees his movement from like side to side. Like obviously he's phenomenally fast and like
Yeah, he's a freak.
crazy
Yeah.
athletic.
Yeah.
But I promise you, the first thing, and like when I watch him, I get so excited watching him move up and back in the court
Oh yeah.
versus anything else. It is unlike anything I've ever seen. Um, that's like I'll literally watch him play, and I'll just like I will not watch the other person. I'll just watch him, and the how quickly he gets from, you know, 5 feet behind the baseline to 3 feet in front of the baseline to take a ball early that lands at the
Yeah.
service line. It blows me away. And I think that's getting pretty nerdy on it. I think that's something that without a lot of tennis experience, people are not gonna they're gonna see. They're gonna see his incredible shots, his incredible gets, his incredible forehand,
But
whatever
they're
it
not
might be.
paying the average person's not paying attention at all to his
Right.
court
And
positioning.
oh, it's
It's
just so
it's
good. It's
yeah.
crazy. And a lot of that is so innate. It's just really, 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 really hard to teach. But if anybody's
Yeah.
listening to that, it's like, what are you trying to like? I only watch Alcaraz for how he moves up and back in the court. And he more than anybody identifies when the ball comes off his opponent's racket, where that ball is going to land, and then where he needs to be to most optimally hit that ball. And if he can
Hmm.
take away a millisecond of court positioning,
Hmm.
he's going to do it. And it's fascinating to me.
Can,
He mesmerizes me when I watch.
considering that he played Tsitsipas in the final yesterday
Mm-hmm.
in Madrid
Barcelona.
and Barcelona. Yeah, it was Yes, yeah, yeah. And so he's playing Barcelona in the final. And when he's playing that, I don't think anybody else is paying attention, but because of his court positioning and how he can read where the ball is going to be, um, Tsitsipas is really elite at moving to his forehand out of the corner, and that's what he does well. But he doesn't move forward and back extremely well. It's really kind of just like he can be aggressive to that forehand, so he can kind of cheat on his backhand side because he can make up for it for how fast he can move to that forehand wing
Mm-hmm.
and still hit the ball. But nobody was talking about how impressive it was for Alcaraz to be 19, and I'm pretty sure I don't know the exact number, but it was close to like 8 clean drop shot winners yesterday, which
Crazy.
is an insane amount. But the thing is, like if I was playing a match with just another adult and they start drop shotting me a lot, I start to expect it. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do that with him because he's hitting so hard with
Mm-hmm.
such advanced court positioning all the time that when that drop shot comes out, you can never really be prepared for it. So if he's making it, there's really nothing you can do at
Yeah.
all. It's so crazy because his touch is, I mean, obviously insane to be at that level, but to hit those drop shots and it not be a play setup, but for it to be a clean winner that often just shows how much pressure. Like Tsitsipas has consistently been top 5 in the world for a while. And for him to be hitting clean winners and Tsitsipas can't even get to the ball, that just shows how much pressure that
Mm-hmm.
Alcaraz
You got to give up one.
positioning in forehand is putting him under.
Yeah, if Tsitsipas is going to run down that drop, is going to anticipate and run down that drop shot, he's going to look silly when Alcaraz decides to just go ahead and rip a normal backhand cross court 8
Right.
miles an hour and hit it for a winner. And he's like, well, I was expecting the drop shot. One way or the other, he's going to look silly, and that only happens because Alcaraz has the ability to step inside the court. When you're step inside the court, your world of uh, options to what you want to do with the ball goes wide open.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. It's crazy. I'm not surprised that you like watching it, though. I think everybody does.
Yeah, it's not a revolutionary situation. I'm not saying I'm liking, my favorite person to watch is somebody that's like 78 in the world. It's the best guy of this next generation.
What do you think about I don't think we've really gotten the matchup, but I'm hoping in one of the slams we see him play Runa.
No, yeah. Yeah, I'm whatever on Runa.
Really?
He's good. I mean it's not I guess he's very good. I don't know.
I think on not on hard courts, but I think on clay, that's where he's scary. He's actually been extremely good on clay. I was pretty impressed. He's been using the drop shot well, and it's his backhand that's so impressive. It's He's got a really good backhand. I think that the reason that Runa gets my attention is I think he believes that he should be the best. He has this self belief that not everyone has. That's kind of unshakable. It's that thing that like Rublev's been missing. Is that Runa believes he should be number one. He believes he should be winning Grand Slams. So when those big moments come, he wants the big moment, and we don't always have people like that. So it's kind of impressive, actually.
That's actually a good point. Maybe that's what you know, it I don't know if it's correlated, but what makes Rublev so much more likable than Runa.
Yeah, I think he's got more friends in the locker room for sure. Oh, that would
Just a little bit.
just a couple. Yeah,
Just
that
a
might.
couple.
Okay,
I'm
so
guessing it's a pretty low bar, but go ahead.
yeah. All right. So being someone that was obviously a highly ranked junior, what was your college recruiting process like?
Well, Kyle, I got pretty darn lucky. I would say that if you could name a more ideal, or if someone were constructing, a recruiting process, how to do it, um, they would say go out and win Kalamazoo right before all your visits start,
Yeah,
and coaches can start to contact you, and you really don't have to, you're not selling yourself at all to any programs. Uh, that was kind of a little bit my situation.
that's fair.
Won 16s Kalamazoo singles and doubles like that August before coaches can start contacting in September. It really worked out well because I in my head I wanted to, if I knew where I wanted to go and took the visits and knew everything, I wanted to commit a little bit early. So it's still back when I don't know exactly how it is now, but you know, back when I was going through the recruiting process, most people committed, senior year fall. I was one of the, I was like, I think I want to do it my junior year. I want to get out in front of it, just get it, not get it out of the way, but a thoughtful decision, but a correct one. And that was the case. And so it kind of really coincided well with my goals was to get locked into a place. And my junior year, I kind of, I, I work in, you know, with the, as an advisor and CFP and everything right now. I work in the markets every day. My stock was as high as it could possibly be at the time. So I really I tried to leverage that as much as I could. Um, and then, I took unofficial visits to, quite a few different places. Got a lot of interest starting like September 1, they could like email me, as I was going to go play in the US Open Juniors, was getting a bunch of emails, talking with people there. And it was just, from there trying to just find the right fit of everything that I wanted between, I valued my academics. So I wanted the school that took academics seriously. I was interested in business, took, maybe a good business school if possible. Great coaches, great team, great school and university, city to live in, all of that stuff. And so, that kind of whittles it down, pretty quickly. And if, looking for a good tennis program on top of that, all of that. So at the end of the day, the decision became pretty obvious for me going to North Carolina. It's got everything and more. I'm very jealous now. They have a brand new, like, crazy millions of dollar tennis facility that just
Looking
opened.
nice over there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I can't wait to go. I'm going for a teammate's bachelor party in July. We're to North Carolina, and we're going to spend a couple hours out there playing. And so I'm excited to see it. Jealous of all the players that are there now. I get to take advantage of it. But
I feel like they don't have that. If the program trended upward a lot in the 4 years that you were there. I feel like I'm not saying you need to like make a statement taking all the credit. I'm just saying like I'm not saying North Carolina was a bad program. I'm just saying like the relative success has been trending upward over the past however many years.
right. I mean, they were good. They were always very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think, they were consistently between like 15 and 25. And,
Yeah.
The numbers that back that up would be when I forget what it was when my freshman year when we made the Elite Eight. It was the first Elite Eight. in 20 something years.
Mhm.
You know, and like you said at the top, we made it at least Elite Eight all 4 years, national indoors, all of that stuff. So yeah, you know, I'd like to think that I left Carolina tennis in a better position than when I got there. And I think that's, you know, the ultimate success of a program in a 4 years and all of that. And we definitely had that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, guess going back to the original question, the recruiting process for me, I feel like was a little bit unique. You know, I am aware of how lucky I was that I wasn't really having to sell myself to coaches like the majority of people do. And I say it in the most humblest way possible. And I realize it's usually like a little bit of a back and forth. But I was just honestly, I was way more on the receiving end of a lot of it. And for that, I'm, you know, very fortunate, and it afforded me the flexibility to commit, you know, beginning, like January of my junior year of high school. So I knew where I was going for a year and a half, which was awesome.
Yeah, I would say that bring a little bit of peace of mind, just a little bit.
A little bit, and especially
Yeah.
compared to like with my high school buddies that were like battling the SATs and like college essays and stressing about all of that. I just kind of,
And they're applying for
I,
all these different schools and they have all these deadlines and
right.
all this stuff. Oh yeah. No,
Oh
that's
yeah, I just got to, you know, hypothetically, I was just waltzing around, not without a care in the world. So
your
it
your
was
friends
it
your
was
friends
nice.
secretly hated you just a little bit. Just because they were so
Oh
jealous. Oh yeah.
yeah, then I wear if I ever like maybe wore a UNT sweatshirt or something on the day, and they'd be like, "Oh, I love the colors too." So I don't know. It was
Yeah.
I got
That's
more like, oh, UNC's got the best colors versus, oh, UNC's got the best business school or tennis program. I always got
yeah,
UNC best colors. So
that's fair. Okay. So talking a little bit more about junior tennis, and I don't know how much you keep up with it now, but is there anything, and you can pass on this question, but is there anything that you would change about the way junior tennis is currently structured in the United States?
yes, great question. Thank you for asking. I am now I am more plugged in with junior tennis now. As of this past year, I'm currently on the USTA Midwest section board. I'm on the investment committee, but then I get, you know, privy to go on, you know, listening on other committees, and, you know, very fortunate to be in the role that I am, and the, you know, with the group it is. We just had our annual meeting in Indy in person. So many people. It was fantastic. All that to be said, yes, I do have, and I coach a couple of players, and so I see it. I do have a couple of gripes. Um, One mainly, I do not understand how it is possible that we turned it into where local qualifiers go to sectional qualifiers, go to nationals. How the heck that system's gotten all blown up and shredded into flames. It used to be
Yeah.
where you'd have to play well in the Indiana State qualifier to make the Midwest, and if you
Hmm.
made the Midwest, then you did well there, then you could get into nationals.
Hmm.
Pretty good structure,
It was cut and
understandable,
dry, understandable for people. Once you learned it, it made sense. Yeah.
and you could not duck. I wanted to. Do you think I wanted to play like, you know, for all of the players that I practiced against with you know, in Indy every single day, like
No.
that
Yeah.
I was quote unquote better than? Like no, that was the no win scenario. It was awful, but it was great pressure, great learning, most intense matches of all time. Now you get it, you know, and stop me if I'm wrong in here because I actually don't like live it, but uh people like dodging competition to go play in random spots for different levels, and, you know, getting points, and then now with the introduction of UTR, people ducking out of matches with people that are lower UTRs than them, so their UTRs don't go down, which is terrible because if you have 8 UTRs ducking 7.5 UTRs, well, you both stink. So it's like it
Correct.
doesn't matter. Like
Correct.
you're not like a good tennis player until you're a 12, 13 UTR, and at that point you're more worried about college ranking and pro ranking.
If
If
you're
your
a guy,
UTRs, sorry, yes, sorry, I'm
just
only speaking.
clarifying so there's not some parent with a daughter out there freaking out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So Yes, my
Yeah,
bad.
keep going, keep going. I just wanted to clarify.
Clarifying, yes. So I'm speaking on the guy's head right now. Unless you're 12 or 13 UTR, like
Right.
UTR doesn't matter. Like the goal each day should be just trying to get
Better.
incrementally better at what you do, so you become a better tennis player. And you
Yeah.
don't, and I am fully believe that you don't become a better tennis player unless you play matches and you play pressure matches and you play pressure
Yep.
situations. It's the only way you're going to get better. No good tennis player, no top 100 tennis player in the next 10 or 15 years will have defaulted to somebody because their UTR was lower and they were maybe a little bit tired and so they didn't want to play. I
Correct.
promise you, not one person. So if the ultimate goal is to be the best you can be, then stop doing that. And I cannot believe, because I see it with these like 12s and 14s Midwest tournaments where I have players in, that they I went to a couple, they're like, this person's not playing this person, and it's because they didn't want to lose. You're both like a 6 UTR. Who cares? Go play. And
Yeah.
so that's my biggest gripe. That UTR thing with there's not a structure to get people where you have to win at a local level, then a Midwest level, then or sectional level, then a national level.
I'm a believer that I think UTR should have changed their structure slightly. And I think that for your UTR to go down, you should have to lose multiple matches to people under you. But if you are underneath, a good match should be able to bring you up. And whenever they made the rule that like your UTR had to be within 2 points of someone else for it to affect your UTR, I know people that were stuck at a number for like years at a time because every time they would like lose in a third set breaker to someone that was like an 11, but they were stuck at an 8.5 because they they're not close enough for it to count. And I just
Yeah,
thought that was ridiculous too. It should be more about wins and being competitive and less about the number. And someone shouldn't be punished for being, more than 2 points away. And then also they've got to find a way to, you know, dodge the people that are ducking those matches. I don't know. There's got to be a way to like not harm the upper person too much, but
yeah.
also stop screwing over the person that's underneath because they gotta fix that so people aren't ducking matches like you said. There's got to be some way to tweak that. I don't know.